Okay, good morning. I'm Daniel Oates. I'm the interim police chief here in Aurora. With me is Sheriff Tyler Brown of Arapahoe County, participate in the briefing and answer some questions. I'll put out the basic facts for you, however. So I want to thank Sheriff Tyler Brown and the Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office and our colleagues in law enforcement. We had a lot of help last night with this very difficult and challenging situation. So yesterday, July 18th at around 12:45 p.m., Aurora police officers located a wanted fugitive at 438 North Oswego Street. The subject's name is Fabian Perry, 27 years old. He was wanted on an active arrest warrant for homicide, a homicide that occurred in Roswell, Georgia on July 6th, during which he shot in the face with a high-powered rifle his girlfriend and the mother of two of his children. So Georgia authorities had been looking for him since July 6th. There was a national effort to find him. He was tracked through several states, and we learned over the weekend that he was somewhere in the Aurora area, and our fugitive team was trying to find him for the Georgia authorities. In addition to his first-degree murder warrant, the suspect had a significant history of previous arrests for robbery, burglary, and domestic violence. And he also had a warrant for a road rage incident where he violently assaulted a 53-year-old woman in October of 2021. Aurora PD investigators confirmed that he was at the Oswego Street address, and SWAT responded to the location and set up a perimeter. We were able to convince the 4 other adults in the home to leave the home, and our subject refused to leave the house. We contacted our crisis negotiation team. They responded and began communications with the suspect. The suspect made multiple demands and said he would surrender around 4:30 p.m. if he was allowed to speak with family members, which we coordinated and arranged. But the suspect did not surrender as promised. Instead, he began to live stream on social media the events in the home, including him holding a high-powered rifle and telling police that he would shoot us if we entered the home. Over the next 10 hours, our negotiators continued to efforts to convince the male to exit the home unarmed and surrender. At 9:37 p.m., circumstances changed when for the first time we heard gunshots within the home. Now you need to understand this is a high-powered rifle. We had done our best to evacuate the homes in the immediate vicinity of this house, but there were also any number of folks living in this densely populated area, okay, where a high-powered rifle could penetrate the home, and we had asked people to shelter in place, but there was a tremendous danger to the community in his indiscriminate firing of his rifle. And at least 5 more times over the course of the evening and into the early morning, he fired additional rounds. We don't know how many exactly. My estimate, because I was on the scene and heard all the transmissions, is that it was probably roughly 20 to 40 rounds that were fired. It'll be up to the investigators to determine what that final number is. We used multiple less lethal tactics in order to convince him to leave the home: tear gas, less lethal rounds through windows, flash diversionary devices, and repeated orders to gain compliance, and he remained uncooperative. At about 2:18 a.m., he exited the home armed with a rifle. Shots were fired by 1 Aurora police officer and 1 Aurora County Sheriff's deputy. The Aurora police officer and the Arapahoe County deputy who fired their weapons were wearing their department-issued body cameras. And as is our policy and practice here, the critical incident response team of the 18th Judicial District responded and will be investigating this officer-involved shooting. So after today's conference, the sheriff and I will offer no further comments on this case. It'll be left up to the 18th Judicial District shoot team to provide any information after today. I want to thank all our partners in law enforcement. In addition to the county's assistance, which was of tremendous help to us, the Englewood Police Department and the Littleton Police Department provided support to help us end this incident. With that, I'll ask the sheriff to make some remarks, and then we'll take some questions. Sheriff?
Thank you, Chief. As the Chief stated, this was an incident that posed an extreme danger to the community, and it was a coordinated effort in an attempt to try to bring this to a peaceful resolution. We offered several opportunities for the individual to surrender, which he did not, and unfortunately came out and presented a threat to officers who engaged him. As the Chief mentioned, there was multiple less than lethal opportunities that we used to try to end this siege, and they were unsuccessful. Both of these law enforcement officers, the deputy and the Aurora police officer, will be on paid leave pending the processes that we go through for the investigation, and we'll answer any questions that you might have at this point. So,
was he able to speak to any of his family members when you gave him the opportunity?
During the course of these many hours, we believe he was speaking to family members. He was speaking to a lot of people on the phone. In fact, one of our challenges were our negotiators would be in contact with him via phone, and he would hang up on us to talk to someone else. The event began with a lot of his effort, again, via social media, to draw attention to what was occurring.
What kind of rifle was it?
I don't know. I just know it's a high-powered rifle. I have not been briefed on it. I know it was recovered at the scene and that he emerged from the house with it in his hands.
Chief, did any of the people that were in the home, living at the home with him at the time, did they know who he was? Or what
My understanding from our conversations with them is that they had no idea that he was wanted for murder.
So no one else arrested or facing any other charges?
Correct.
You said that you learned over the weekend that he was in Aurora. How did you guys find out?
I don't have the details on that, but it was I think a lot of it had to do with tracking phones and those kinds of things. The typical techniques that we use in law enforcement. We have a very successful and capable network of fugitive researchers, apprehenders in this community, including in the Aurora PD. So we were contacted by our colleagues in law enforcement elsewhere and alerted that he was probably in the area, and we did the investigative work to find him.
In situations like this, when you're looking for someone like that, is SWAT always sent to the scene, or could it have been handled differently?
There was an effort to apprehend him before he got back to the house. We didn't have enough officers to do that safely before he was in the house. And so at that point, once he was in the house, our best tacticians are our SWAT officers.
Were reverse 911 notifications sent out? Do you know how many people they were sent out to? And how many
The answer is yes, they were. It was broadly to the area. I don't have the details beyond that. But to the extent people cooperate in our Code Red program, they were notified. In fact, one of our pitches is more people should do that. It's a great way. We got a couple of complaints this morning. I wasn't notified. Oh, you have to sign up? Yes, you have to sign up. So if I could get that message out to the community, and I'm sure it's the same with other communities in the area, is go to our website and sign up for that program, and you will be notified.
Was there a technical issue?
No, it's a question of you have to sign up for it. So if you didn't sign up for it, you weren't notified.
And for the people that you were able to reach, what information were you able to share with them about?
Well, we typically share that we have a police incident. It's best for your safety to stay in your home until this is resolved and await further instructions from us. There were, as I said, a number of houses that were close by that were evacuated. It was impractical and dangerous to evacuate any others, but we put out notice and we did our best to tell people shelter in place, stay in the basement if you can. But he was an ongoing threat because of a high-powered rifle to anyone who was living in that area.
Was that the only weapon he had, the high-powered rifle?
We don't know. We were not able to search the home last night. We have a search warrant now. The home will be searched over today and perhaps a couple of days.
And a total of 40 rounds, you said, maybe 20 to 40, is that right?
That's my personal estimate based on having been on the scene and listened to everything that occurred. It's a very broad estimate. We don't know for sure, and that's part of the investigation into the home that will have to take place.
And were any other houses hit in the area by gunfire that you're aware of?
We don't know that at this time.
There was a massive hole within the home when I looked at video. Do you know what that was caused by?
The recommendation by our tacticians, which I approved on the scene, was that in order to get the munitions into the home that was the best thing we had to do at that point. That we couldn't approach the house without the armored vehicle that was used to make that hole, and we needed to both see inside and to get the munitions into the house. So it was a tactical decision that we made. We also broke out quite a few windows if you look at the house.
And I think the deployment of SWAT needs to be recognized too as a time advantage. When those vehicles arrive on scene, they're armored and they allow personnel to safely approach the scene, and it gives us more time and a tactic which allows us to try to bring this to a peaceful resolution. And so vision inside of the home is very important when it comes to these situations, and especially when he starts indiscriminately firing his weapon, we need to make sure that we have the capabilities of entering that home with other apparatus besides human beings. And so with our bomb squad, we have the availability to enter with robots and drones to try to locate the suspect in the home to try to bring this to a peaceful resolution.
And do we know if the officer or the deputy were the people who actually shot the suspect? I feel like it just hasn't been explicitly said.
2 officers fired. We don't know at this time whose round struck the subject, but it would be one or both of those officers.
And then have we actually identified the suspect? Do we have a name for the 27-year-old
Yeah,
man?
it's-
And can I get the spelling as well?
Yes, his name is Fabian, Fabian Perry, Perry, 27 years old, and our PIO office will get you whatever other information there is on him.
Okay.
Sheriff, follow-up question. This is the first I heard about robots and drones. Were those deployed by your department? I didn't see that. Did the robots go in and
Yeah.
drones fly in?
We made several attempts to use that equipment to try to get a layout of that home.
So did drones fly in?
We have the ability to do that in these situations.
But did they go
Yeah,
in?
yes.
Yes, they did.
Okay,
Yes.
I just wanted to
Yep.
confirm that.
The robots were provided by our colleagues in the Sheriff's Department, and we used drones from multiple agencies to fly around and even enter into the home.
Have you all spoken to the police authorities in Roswell or any of the municipalities in Georgia?
I'm sure we have. I have not, but we've been in close contact with them.
Do we know if you mentioned a domestic violence charge, among other things? Do we know if that was related to the same woman who is involved in the homicide?
I'm not sure. I don't have that information for you. In the end, he did kill the mother of his children.
Any potential charges for the people that were in the house?
I don't believe that's at all contemplated. Our information is that they sincerely did not know that they were housing a homicide suspect. They knew that they knew him as to be a family friend. So
Any idea how long you've been there?
a couple days. Exactly how many I don't know.
Chief, the officer that fired, was it the same officer that fired a couple weeks ago at you, this other?
No. Okay. Anything else, folks? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.